If you've ever lifted weights, you know the feeling. You're making awesome progress. Everything's growing. And then, bam, it just stops. The dreaded plateau. And honestly, nowhere is this more frustrating than with your arms. You're doing all the curls, all the pushdowns, but that tape measure, it just refuses to move. Well, let's dive into this, because today we're going to break down exactly how to smash right through that wall. So our guide for this whole explainer comes from a place we all know and love, the fitness community itself. This simple request from a Reddit user who's hit a total wall in his training is a question that, let's be real, thousands of us have asked. He's stuck, he's getting frustrated, and he's looking for real answers. And you know what? The community, backed up by some solid science, totally delivered. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to really define this whole plateau problem. Then we'll dive into the anatomy, because that's where the real key to size is hiding. After that, we'll get into some much smarter training strategies, talk about how to actually fuel that growth, and finally, we'll wrap it all up into a simple, actionable plan to get you growing again. Sound good? Let's go. All right, let's kick things off with section 1, the plateau problem. What does it actually mean? And more importantly, why the heck does it happen? A plateau isn't just something in your head, you know? The signs are very real. Your arm measurements haven't budged for months. You're stuck lifting the exact same weight on curls you were a month ago. And that awesome pump you used to get, yeah, it's a distant memory. Your workouts just feel stale. This is that point where you're tempted to do something crazy, like just train arms every single day. But really, it's just a signal from your body that it's time for a smarter approach, not just a harder one. And that smarter approach, it starts right here in section 2 with a little anatomy lesson. Because think about it, if you don't really know what you're training, how can you train it effectively? This right here is where most people go wrong. And boom, this little gem of advice from the community just cuts right to the heart of it. We are absolutely obsessed with our biceps, right? But as this user points out, they aren't even the biggest muscle in your upper arm. Nope, not by a long shot. And what's so cool about this slide is how it just lays it all out visually. Your triceps, that muscle on the back of your arm, make up roughly 60% of your upper arm mass. Let me say that again, 60%. So if you want bigger arms, you have to prioritize your triceps. Chasing bigger arms by only focusing on biceps is kind of like trying to build a bigger house by only working on the guest room. It just doesn't make sense. But wait, there's another secret weapon hiding in your arm, the brachialis. This muscle sits right underneath your bicep. So why should you care? Well, as the brachialis gets bigger, it has nowhere to go but up. It literally pushes your bicep higher, creating that awesome, impressive peak that everyone's chasing. Plus, it adds some serious thickness to your arm when you look at it from the side. It's a game changer. Okay, so let's move on to section 3 and see how this all comes together in smarter training strategies. Now that we know what to target, let's talk about how to target it to get the absolute best results. You know, in the fitness world, there's this constant debate. What's better for growth, volume or intensity? Volume is all about how much you do. More sets, more reps, training more often. I mean, one Reddit user went totally extreme with it, training arms every other day and actually added a full inch. But on the other side of the coin, you have intensity, which is all about how hard you work. People who believe in this say the real key is taking every single set to true absolute muscular failure. So let's dig into that intensity idea for a second, because it's got some very specific rules. This isn't about just throwing weight around with sloppy form. No way. It's about taking your sets to failure with perfect form. It means using slow, controlled movements to keep that muscle under tension and really, really focusing on squeezing the muscle hard at the top of the movement. And to make it all work, a lot of people find that giving arms their own day, or at least training them first when you're fresh, makes a huge difference. Okay, so we've got these principles like intensity and giving arms priority, but which specific exercises are going to give you the most bang for your buck? For that, we can actually turn to the data. And check this out. This is data from a study sponsored by the American Council on Exercise. They literally hooked people up to sensors to measure how much the triceps were firing during different exercises. And the winner, which might surprise you, was triangle push-ups, hitting 100% muscle activation. Right behind were dips and triceps kickbacks. So the big takeaway here, 2 of the top 3 most effective triceps builders need little or even no equipment at all. Pretty cool, right? So what about those other key muscles we talked about? Well, to hit that brachialis and build up your bicep peak, you want to do curls where your palms are facing each other, like hammer curls, or facing down, like reverse curls. These movements basically take the bicep out of its strongest position, forcing that brachialis underneath to do more of the work. And for bicep width, you gotta hit the short head by doing curls with your arms out in front of you, like on a preacher bench or doing some spider curls. All right, let's talk about the other, equally important half of this whole equation in Section 4, fueling muscle growth. I'm telling you, you can have the most perfect workout plan on the planet, but if you're not eating for growth, you are just spinning your wheels. This user's comment is pretty blunt, but it's 100% true. Muscle is expensive tissue for your body to build and maintain. Your body is not going to build it unless you give it a surplus of energy, a surplus of calories. It's that simple. You have to be eating more calories than you burn to gain new muscle. So yeah, getting bigger overall is pretty much a prerequisite for getting bigger arms. And a huge part of that calorie surplus needs to come from carbohydrates. Let's just get this out of the way. Carbs are not the enemy. Carbs are your body's #1 fuel for intense workouts. They restock your muscles' energy stores so you can recover and go hard again. They also spike insulin, which is a powerful hormone that helps shuttle nutrients into your muscle cells. And, so importantly, they spare protein, making sure it gets used to build muscle, not just burn for energy. And hey, if we're talking about fuel, we have to mention creatine. It's one of the most researched supplements in existence. A massive scientific review confirmed what athletes have known for years. It just works. Creatine helps your muscles produce energy faster, letting you lift a bit heavier or grind out an extra rep or two. And over time, that little increase in the work you can do leads directly to more muscle growth. It's a no-brainer. Okay, we have covered a ton of ground. Now for the grand finale, Section 5, your plateau busting plan. Let's boil all of this down into a simple strategy you can start using tomorrow. Here it is, your 4-step action plan. Super simple. Number 1, rethink your anatomy. Start prioritizing your triceps and that hidden brachialis muscle. 2, train with crazy intensity. Use perfect form and take your sets to failure on exercises that science has shown actually work. 3, program smart. Give your arms the priority they need, maybe their own day or hitting them first in your workout. And finally, number 4, fuel your growth. You've got to eat enough calories, protein, and carbs to actually build new muscle tissue. That's the plan. So look, a plateau, it feels like a brick wall. I get it. But it's not. It's really just your body asking you a question. It's asking if you're willing to go beyond just doing more work and start doing smarter work. It's a signal to step back, reassess what you're doing, and adopt. So the real question is, are you ready to give it the right answer?